Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of SuperFantaFi. This being a show where I talk about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the series premiere of I'm an Evil Lord in an Intergalactic Empire. Quite the mouthful. It'll probably take me a couple episodes before I'm able to kind of say that without stumbling over trying to say it. But either way, great series premiere. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So what threw me is I know that this series, I already went into it knowing it was an isekai and it's a comedy, harem, mecha series, but I didn't read the premise of it. So I was like, okay, so it's an isekai. So I thought like maybe you get teleported to a story and you're forced to play the evil lord in it. That's what I was going into this, having no idea what to expect. That's what I was assuming it was going to be. Man, that was a dark backstory. That's so interesting. So we get introduced to Liam. He's the lord of a group and he's like, it's a war in space and he's doing this thing, meching it up, and he's just destroying the opponents, and he's just so living for it, feeling so excited. He brings his crew in. He has was it Amagi, who was kind of like the tactician who figured out, okay, this is where you need to be placed to wipe them out. Then Christina, who's like, please let me serve you, my lord, and wipe out these enemies so you don't have to waste your time on them. And he's just like living it up and enjoying it, but he's talking about getting his revenge. And then we rewind to find out his life. That is a dark backstory. I haven't watched a lot of isekai. I've watched some things with isekai elements. It's the whole thing of in manhwa and stuff where it's like, oh, you were the bullied person and now life is like a video game and you made yourself better. I know at least 2 series that are webtoons I've read that are like that, but I know other things have implemented that too. Maybe there's a lot of isekais that have depressing stories like that, but the few I've watched haven't necessarily had that backstory to that extent. But I don't know. I'm sure and there's some dark stuff in the Dot Hack series, so either way, we meet a guy who's just life kind of beats him down. He does what he can to take care of his wife and daughter, which the moment that was implemented, I was like, oh, that's kind of depressing. You're leaving behind your wife and daughter. Like I said, that's at the beginning before we really dive into all of it. But yeah, he works a job where he gets chewed out by his boss. His coworkers mock him because he was like, oh, I sent this message to you saying this was what was going down. His boss is like, I didn't see it, so that's on you. And then his coworkers are like, yeah, he goes to the club on Thursdays. You should have known better, you idiot. But he's like, whatever. I have my wife and my daughter. As long as I have them, I will deal with whatever BS life sends my way. But then he finds there's a friend of his who was talking about oh yeah, there's this thing going on sale. He went to go track it down and he found his wife with someone else. The moment we saw the back of the head, I'm like, oh, that's obviously his boss. But he was like, trying to be like, no, that's not what it was. I mean, obviously my wife probably lied about going somewhere with my daughter, and I think that kind of speaks volumes, because at first I was like, well, the daughter didn't say anything, which we clearly saw her. So I was like, there is a small chance, very minute small chance that it isn't what you think it is. But I'm like, it most likely is. But the fact is the daughter didn't say anything. I was like, either the mother convinced her, hey, you don't need to say anything. Or because all she said was oh, I had this competition and I did go. But now in retrospect, it's obviously that the mom and the daughter both lied. The daughter probably didn't go to the competition. I think to be fair, she wasn't with the mom at the time. So maybe she did. And she just covered she never directly lied because she was just no, he just assumed the mom was there and stuff. But she probably just yeah, if you probably asked her, she probably would have danced around it or straight up lied and been yeah, mom was there. But it's probably a thing of she was at the little competition thing, but the mom wasn't, and she went to on her date or whatever. But he still kept trying to justify it to himself. No, maybe things weren't what they were. I shouldn't even question my wife. Why would she do that? He goes to that same area the next day or whatever and doesn't see them together. He's like, oh, good. I was probably seeing stuff. And then he runs into her. She's in that area too with their daughter. It's oh, let's go see him. And he's like, oh, and she runs up to the guy being like, Papa. And I was like, oh no. And even he's kind of no, why would she call him Papa? Is that a friend? But why would she, was that a friend of her mom's? Why would she do that? And at the same time, getting chewed up at work. the fact is his computer won't go to sleep. There's kind of like an issue where it won't go to sleep, so he has to shut it down, but it takes a long time for it to like wind back up. So his boss is like, oh, then leave it open. Like, why do you have to let it be in sleep mode or shut it down? He's like, well, then someone can easily get in the computer. He's like, well, fine, then don't take any breaks. You won't have to worry about it. And that comes back to bite him in the ass later, because his daughter had an incident and she needed surgery. They needed to give her a transfusion. I was like, oh boy. The moment he's like, oh, I'm AB, the wife is like, oh, I'm O, and she's able to give blood, but the dad isn't. He's like, wait, that doesn't make any sense, because he's like, turns out the daughter's O, and he's like, well, bloodline wise, blood type wise, that shouldn't make sense for my blood type to mix with my wife's. My daughter shouldn't be that type of thing. And then ultimately he ends up confronting her about it, and she kind of finally just lays it all out and kind of chews him out. I was like, that kind of feels messed up, because it's like, you're the one in the wrong. You're the one that cheated. Like, that's so sad, because like he's working so hard to provide for you, because she's like, all you do is come home and go to sleep. It's sad too, because like they resent you for what you're doing, but you're willing to deal with any resentment at work and any BS at work trying to take care of them. It's kind of an oxymoron type of a situation. It's just kind of like, oh, that's depressing. And she's just saying like, right, you never paid any attention to your daughter. I stayed home and took care of our child. I raised her. You weren't really there. You haven't really taken care of her. But it's like, that's so sad, you know? Because it seems like she likes her dad, but, you know, I think it's the thing of she, like, prefers her real dad over her fake dad. And it's just like, right, you've been dealing with, because she's like, oh, I married you because you said you were going to make me happy. And what have you done these past 10 years? You haven't made me happy. She's the one that's been keeping up this front. I mean, if you were unhappy, like, that should be something you should be like, yeah, I'm not happy in this marriage. I think we should go our separate ways. But like, for it to blow up at this point in time, like, the only reason, like, she's almost like, you're getting mad at me because you found out all this other stuff. I'm the one that should be mad at you. It's like, he's the one that got cheated on. You know, whether you feel like, oh, you weren't really being the supportive husband you were, like, lying this entire time, making him think his daughter was his daughter when in fact she wasn't. So, you know, it's just, the fact is, it's more like you lied to him. And even later on, he admits, like, yeah, even if she's not my biological daughter, I still love her. Because regardless of everything, that's still his daughter in his eyes. But I mean, he doesn't really have much rebuttal. I mean, she just kind of tears into him about what he's kind of done, his failures. And she's like, yeah, I'm just going to take our daughter away. And he's like, no, you're not going to do that. And she's like, yeah, she should be with someone that's going to be able to take care of her and be with her. And it's like, I have more of a right because I've actually raised our child. And he's asking her daughter, like, do you want to stay with daddy, don't you? And she's like, no, I want to stay with the other papa because he's like nicer or whatever. So not only is his personal life spiraling out, then he comes into work and he's being accused of basically embezzling $50 million. And it's like, he remembers his computer being left open. Who made a point to make him leave his computer open? Which at the same time, while his computer was open, the situation with his daughter happened. So, and his coworkers are looking at him like, oh, this is your fault. I can't believe it. Oh, you disgust me. You kind of figured, like, I thought one of them might be behind it. Maybe the boss, but he was the one that went out of his way to tell him, leave the computer open. So now he ends up getting fired, and he could, like, get sued because of all this. But he's basically in a situation where now he has to work to pay back all that money. Plus, on top of that, his wife used this as an opportunity to divorce him and get sole custody of their daughter. And now he also has to pay child support too. So working a construction job, kind of still catching flack. But for him, it's like, whatever, push myself. I'm going to do whatever it takes to get my daughter back. You know, and maybe if I work my way through this, if I just keep at it, you know, good things will happen, right? And then, you know, he starts getting sick more and more, and he can't even pay for insurance and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden, something presents itself and showcases that, yes, it was his boss that stole the 50 mil and set him up. It seems like it was the wife's decision, because even they're on a date and stuff, and he's like, oh man, that's kind of messed up what you did. She's like, yeah, but you know, I also wouldn't have had a child with him because I only want like child of like the best DNA, and I would never want to have a child with him. And it's just kind of like, yeah, the least he can do is pay us and pay for their daughter, not his own daughter. And it's just like, man, I was like, this dude, it's like literally like, yeah, he's living it up being a villain. I think that's the whole point. You have that opening of him being a villain, doing terrible stuff. And I mean, really, we don't have the context of the situation he's in, but then the rest of the episode is literally about being like, okay, that's why he's kind of the evil piece of shit he's going to be for the rest of this series. But yeah, this person comes to him and it's like, you've led a good life. But for him, it's like, what's the point of being a good man when life just screwed me over at every turn? Like, I tried to do the right thing, but that didn't mean anything. And now I'm here sick and in this terrible position. It's like, okay, you can have a restart in life. Because he's like, if I get a second chance in life, I'm just going to be an evil piece of shit. It's like, cool, cool, cool. The guy's like excited about it. He's like, here's all the isekai ways we can handle this. And here are all the settings. You can go with fantasy and magic, real world with superpowers. You can go Jurassic era, just what genre you want to go, and he chose the sci-fi and magic route with giant mechs and robots. And it's like, oh, cool, good bet. This is going to be the start of your new life. And that's what I thought was so interesting, because the whole point was him like, oh, I'm going to get revenge. So I was like, is your like boss your wife and your daughter in this world? Because I don't know if he got, because the thing seems like he's transported to a different world entirely, and I guess his revenge will be like, I'm gonna live my best life by being the biggest piece of shit I can possibly be. Because I was wondering, like, are you going to get, because like obviously like some of these type of stories of like you can rewind time to get your revenge type of situation, it's usually like, yeah, you're still in this life getting your get back. But this is like, none of those people are in this world, not unless some version of them is. That's why I was wondering, like, is this like a brand new world, or did you take some of the real world and throw it into like a sci-fi magical setting? Doesn't seem like it. Seemed like he's just thrown into a sci-fi magical setting as like a younger version of himself, because he's basically being reincarnated. So I think he's probably like a teenager now, maybe, as his character Liam. But I don't know if you start off with him as a baby growing up, having all his knowledge of the previous world and life, you know. So obviously, we'll get a lot more context going into the next episode, but this was just a precursor to set everything up to be like, this is who this character was and who he currently is, and we'll kind of fill probably in some of those gaps more in the next episode. It's like I said, that's depressing, but it also makes you wonder, like, man, what kind of deplorable stuff you're going to get up to. Like I said, I went into this with a different preconceived notion about what this story was going to be, and it's like, nah, I'm going to be a villain, and I'm going to lean into it, and I'm curious, is he going to stray from that at all? Like I said, it's so interesting because this is a comedy, but maybe like the comedic elements are just going to be how evil he is, or maybe some of the harem elements is where a lot of the comedy leans into it, because it's like, yeah, I'm just going to like run amok and I'm going to murder people and do all the evil things I want. It almost seems like that's probably an overcompensation with like all the women in his life, yeah, like that. It's probably going to be a sad thing of, I'm never going to fully trust one woman, because that one woman I loved and married ended up backstabbing me and hurting me in the worst way possible. So I'll surround myself by women. I'll keep them around me, but I'll never love them or trust them, which is like, this series probably will continue to have that underlining depressing element to it, but kind of like overshining it with like comedy stuff. Maybe, like I said, next episode will give us better insight into what to expect from the story. Obviously, another light novel series I am not aware of, just found out about it being adapted into an anime, and you know, I'm catching up because I believe it's up to episode 3 now at the time of me recording this. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see where the next episodes ultimately end up taking us going forward with all of this. Kind of, you know, get an opportunity to learn about who Liam is, because he's from a nobility, and the people who serve him, and what this whole war is about. Why is he, well, I mean, we know why he's being evil, because he wants to be evil, but what, like I said, what's the setting and understanding this world and its rules and the lay of the lands of where Liam exists in the grand scheme of everything, you know, his story and what part it plays in all of this world. But yeah, really, that's all I wanted to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.